everyone. It's Jeanette with Untamed and Unapologetic. Today, I have one of the most amazing women on the show with me, Loren Lahav. I'm so excited to have you here.
I am so excited to be here. I just want to hug you through the screen right now.
Yes, like my child, whenever he's with his dad, he's like, give me an air hug, Mom.
You are a great, amazing boy mom. I love watching you. I love Facebook stalking you and your son. So
Yes.
very fun.
Yes. So I absolutely adore Loren. I met her through Tony Robbins. I was going to one day, I just decided, Jeanette, you're going to Fiji. You said you're going to go one day. And so I picked up the phone and I called Tony Robbins people and I was like, I'm going to Fiji. What do you have in Fiji? And they said, we have life and wealth mastery. And I said, I don't know what it is, but sign me up. Yes. And then I ended up in Fiji and this beautiful woman comes out on stage and she's not Tony Robbins. Yes.
And you're pissed. And you're pissed. You're like, who the heck is this? Where's Tony?
Slightly, but I was open to what this was all about because I was in Fiji for
Yep.
sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that, I think a lot of times, right, like you didn't, we always say trade our expectations for appreciation. And that's literally what you just shared right then is exactly what you did. You're like, okay, like I'm in Fiji, so I'm open to this. And I think that is a great way to start it off. Like lots of us have lots of expectations of what things are going to look like. And then we're like, what? So yeah, we met in Fiji.
Yeah, I think that's like the story of my life. A lot of times, I think it's the story of everyone's life. Like we expect life to turn out a certain way, and then life likes to throw these curveballs at you, and then you got to duck or you got to get hit and figure out how to heal and keep moving forward. So I love that you said that.
Well, yeah, it's funny. It's like one of my favorite quotes. I know Kathy Buckley says it all the time. I don't know who the original quote is, but you want to make God laugh, you tell her your plan. So that, and even like before we got started, right, we were talking about our job is not to kind of come in the room, come in the world, be a good person, leave a good person. It's like we want to have experiences that make us stronger. I always talk, as you know, I always talk about the prayer of Jabez, and Jabez actually means pain. So the prayer of Jabez is, God bless me indeed and expand my territory. That doesn't mean it's going to be easy. But we know that where we grow the most is during the tough times, right? Like I just loved watching your interview and you were sharing about that, right? Like, it's like, hey, it was tough times, but I got through it. It made me made me better mom, made me better in business. It made me understand that more empathetic for just who I am and how you have grown your business as well. So,
yeah, no, thank you. So I met you in Fiji, right? And then I go home and I had this experience. I get home.
No. You met me in Fiji, and there's about 100 people in the room, and I literally think I go to Fiji. I've been going there for 25 years. I launched the program, and then there are certain people that just when they walk in, the room lights up, and there are certain people that when they leave, when those people leave, when other people come leave the room lights up, right? You're one of those people that when you enter the room lights up. And it's when you're in a small room with like 100 people, it's very clear who are the people that are like the light in the room. So I fell in love with you. So let's just be honest. So I go to Fiji to collect a couple friends, and when I was there, I walked right. I remember exactly where you were sitting. And we were in like the fourth row if I'm standing at the front of the room, you're on the right side. And I remember I said, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to connect you with some of my friends. And I gave you Joanne's phone number.
Yes.
And so I was like, I wanted you around me. I didn't know how you were going to be around me. I didn't know how it was going to show up, but I knew I loved your like, get off your ass, type of attitude. I loved just how passionate you were about being a mom. I love that I would watch you. I'm always watching. I don't think people understand that we're always watching. And I loved how during the breaks, you would always call your son. You would always check in on your mama. See, I remember, I see thousands and thousands and thousands of people, but you stand out, Jeanette. And I want you to really take that in because you are a powerhouse of a heart of gold. And I just love what you stand for. So that's actually the real story, everybody.
Let that story continue because I remember Fiji. I was quiet. Like I didn't speak up. Like when people were sharing, I didn't speak up, but I was working the room. I was meeting people. I was like, I'm here. I need to connect. I need to talk to people. I need to be like a little butterfly. And so I remember that. And I still have a lot of connections to the people that were there with us, like Dr. Zamora. She's here in San Antonio and she was there with her husband. So I talk to them still and they're amazing. We actually partnered. So she's offering dental services for my whole team.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, so it's crazy, like when life throws you a curveball and you end up somewhere where you never think you're going to be, always remember to talk to people because you never know how they're going to affect your life or how your life is going to grow or be better because of it. Yeah. And that's how I define you because you came into my life and I don't know, so many people have told me, Jeanette, you have grown so much in the last 2 years. And I think Fiji was that like tipping point where I left and I was like, I don't know if I really got anything out of this. But then I left and figured out it wasn't what happened there. It was more what happened afterwards.
In the wild, as we call it.
Yeah.
When you go back to life, right? Because when you're in it, it's easy, right? It's easy to live those things when people are bringing you the food, when you're learning the information, you're feeling inspired. But it's like, what do I do when I go home? And I think that that's the challenge. Like from anything, like, oh my God, the concert was great or the seminar was awesome. But like, who am I when I go home? And like you said, like, I love the program. I love going and learning, but we don't want self-help to become shelf-help. And too many
Exactly.
times that's what happens to people because either they
Mhm.
don't have the support group there or they don't know where to start or they don't know
Mhm.
what to really implement. And that is truly what I am passionate about. It's
Yeah.
what you do after is more important than what you do there. So if I can connect people with like-minded people,
Mhm.
or if I can give them a couple simple tools that they can integrate and make their code of conduct for their life, not about what's happening around them, but who they're really being, and a decision of who they're going to be every day, no matter what storm is happening around them. So
Yeah.
that is truly, and it's funny because that's what inspired me. We launched the program, very, very grateful. It's my 36th year working with Tony. I'm a contractor now, but I used to be a full-time employee. And when we launched Life Mastery in 2002, so we were teaching about 36 week-long programs a year. Shore and I were teaching those, and it was great. A group would come in, we'd fall in love with them, then a group would leave, and then another group would come in, and then we fall in love
Mhm.
with them. But the people were going in and out. It was kind of a little bit like Groundhog Day. We learned a lot.
Yeah.
But I remember saying to Shore, I was like, we got to go. And he goes, what do you mean? He goes, we're in Fiji. Like, this is awesome. And I'm like, yeah, but I was only 36 at the time. And I'm like, I felt like I was hiding out a little bit. And I would see people come in, like you just said,
Mhm.
amazing information, the best. Like, if you're going to go do something, you got to do it with Tony and you got to do it in Fiji because
Mhm.
there's nobody better. Sorry. I'm just going to say it out there. If you want to go to really get everything, he's the best and he lives it. Yet what I saw though is a lot of people were getting a lot of information, yet I would see a lot of women go, that was great, but who am I?
Mhm.
And I was like, I got to get back to the United States. And I started launching these events back in 2004. I called them Lobella events. Lobella or La Bella, which means the beautiful one. And so I wanted
Mhm.
women to celebrate who they were inside and out, right? The beauty inside and out. And I was like, I wanted women to get back to who they were at the core of a woman. So this is what happened for me. I say that there are 4 stages that a woman goes through. It's a discovering who you are, it's a staying true to who you are. And then the stage that I was at 36, and I saw a lot of other women at, and I see a
Mhm.
lot of women still to this day at, is that rediscovery stage, right? They've had a career, they're looking, they're like, this is great. But then they like go through different
Mhm.
things and they have more
Right.
awareness and they go, but who am I really?
Yeah.
And that rediscovery stage. So I'm passionate about that rediscovery stage. And then now I'll be 60 in November. And I'm at this, what lights me up as well, as you know, is
Mhm.
that next stage, which is that staying connected to who you are.
Mhm.
A lot of us get locked into our roles as a mom, as a wife, as a business person, as a philanthropist, as whatever that it is. And, God forbid, one of those roles might disappear and you go, well, who am I? And so my passion is really people feeling like they're rock solid in who they are. And I always say that nobody can take that away from you unless
Mhm.
you give it to them. And too many times we give our power away. And, and that we all have these defining moments, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done it too many times, way too many times. And every time I do, I have to kick myself in the butt and be like, Jeanette, that's not you anymore. You are not that yes girl. You have a mind of your own. You know what you need to do. You need to pick up the phone and call people who know so you can consult.
Yeah, and so having those sage wisdom, like you guys have your pods like together and like getting like people that've been through it. Like my moment happened when I was 45 and I'd just gone through my divorce, 3 kids in private school. I was like, I have my time where I just hunker down. I hunker down from 10 to 2 and I just go, right? I've always, worked from home. So I was a little bit ahead of the game with when the mandatory pause happened because I'd already had some great systems in place. But I was 45, like I said, so this was 15 years ago. I remember it was actually July. That's crazy. It's like
Really?
this time, 15 years ago. And I was like rocking. I'm like in such momentum. And I don't know, but what happened was I see a friend of mine calls me
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, oh man, like I haven't talked to her in a long time. But I knew, even though she's one of my dearest friends in the world, I knew that she wanted something. And I was like, man, I really want to talk to her, but I'm in such momentum. And I'm like, I pick up the phone and we're kind of doing this little small chitter chatter thing.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, okay, when is she going to freaking get to the ask? Right.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, she gets to the ask.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like she needed me to do something for her kids' school that I don't know, whatever it was. And I started adding up how much time it was going to take. And I started thinking about, what's my time really worth? And then I remember taking a big, deep breath. This was, and I said, you know what? I'm going to have to say no.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was like waiting for her response. And she's like, okay. And I was like, oh my God, like I did it. I did it. I've been celebrating. I'm like, and like that's the day I say I in the book that I had the opportunity to co-author the Chicken Soup for the Soul, Time to Thrive. When the lady asked me what was my story, about thriving, I said it's the day that I went from being a little girl, a
Yeah.
45-year-old little girl, to a woman. And so those moments define
Mhm.
everything, and the
Really do.
standards that we're going to have for ourselves.
Yeah, I had that same moment, my first one, just a few months ago.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a weird feeling because I'm so used to what do you need? What do you need? How can I help you? What do you need? Do you need money? Okay, let me find it. Let me see where I can do it. Do I need to work more? Okay, I'm gonna make it happen. And that got me into trouble. And so because of that, I recognized that I had to make a change, kind of like what you're saying. It's like that moment when I say like we hit the wall. And when we hit the wall, we have to make that transition
Yep. You
and
have
use
to.
the
There,
word.
I say this like it's on your knees moments, right? Like it's like, oh my God.
I
It
can't.
is. But yeah, no, we have to.
Yeah.
And for all of your listeners, it's really important. Not everybody makes that decision. Some
No.
people love the story of it, right? Like the truth is, like your belief is that we have to make those. I mean, my belief is too that we have to make it. And I hope for all of your listeners as well that that's their belief as well. But I actually have learned a lot from my kids.
Mhm.
Joss is just turned 29, Quinn's turning 25, Asher turns 18 in a couple days, and they've got really good boundaries. I love
Yeah.
I when I wrote Stay True, it was really about that compass and
Mhm.
about it all comes back to 4 things.
Yeah.
One is how identity, as we know, or how you see yourself in the world. 2 is the rituals that you do. 3 are the boundaries that you set for yourself, and 4 is your tribe and who you surround yourself with.
Yes.
And I gotta say, a lot of these, kids in their 20s and 30s, I mean, 20s and teens, they're like, nope, I'm not going to do that. And at first I was like, what? No, that's what you do. And but they're like, nope, nope, that doesn't align with me.
Mhm.
That doesn't feel good. Nope,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. And I actually have learned a lot from them about
You
boundaries.
know what, Lauren? Guess who they learned that from?
From what? I
Mhm.
don't know.
You're learning from them, but they're the ones who learned how to do it from watching you. Whether it
Yeah,
was like you didn't know that you were doing that at the moment because you're struggling and having to figure out how to say
right.
no and create the boundary, but they saw it happen. So now they're living it.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for reminding me. Right.
Yes.
But like you said, like when you're in it, sometimes it's hard to know what's going on. You're like, which way is up?
Mhm.
Which way is, where am I going?
Yeah.
And then also now I think that, through watching me taking risks I love seeing them taking a lot more risks, right? I've
Yeah.
taken huge risks, as you know, with
Yes.
this, renting the studio, which someone reminded me today that,
Uh-huh.
wow, Lauren, can you think about that? You've spent millions of dollars renting that studio now. And I'm like, oh my God, like how
Don't
crazy.
think
Like
about that.
when you look at it once and like, how the heck did I do that? But like you said, you bootstrapped, you figured it out.
Mhm.
Well, I'll do this and I'll do that. And then you can only build on success,
Yeah.
right? You can't build on failure. So all of these little micro wins for
Uh-huh.
all of us, we just like need to stack those up to realize that that's how we build. Like like seeing with your kids, right? Like that's how they grow. So
Yeah, that's my hope that he's gonna see his mom, my little, see his mom sacrificing, doing crazy things, going to Utah in the next couple of weeks, going to Fiji, going to Italy, and doing these things to grow, but so he can see that.
he will. When Joss was, I'll never forget this. Joss, like I said, is 29 now. And I used to have a big old Suburban. I loved my Suburban. Her name was Betty. And Joss was in the back with his
Uh-huh.
buddies, like all these little skater boys. They're in the back. I think he was, I don't know, 12, maybe 13. Whenever he was up to go to this scholarship camp
Mhm.
thing. And I'm like, Josh, you need to call to do your interview. He's like, Mom, I'm in the back of the car with my buddies. I'm like, you have to call like now. And like I handed him the phone, right? And so I passed him the phone and he's doing the interview questions with them. And he's with his buddies, and his buddies are like laughing as he's answering the questions or whatever. And I'm driving, right? And so
Uh-huh.
then I hear him say, my mom. And I'm like, uh-oh, what is that about? Like, what did he just say his mom about, right?
Yes.
And he goes, because she does what she says she's going to do.
I love that.
And my belief is, and I've said this ever since that moment, like I said, which would have been, I don't know how many years, a long time ago,
Mhm.
17 years ago. Yeah, 17 because Asher was just born,
Wow.
or a year old. He goes,
Mhm.
my belief is we need to be the heroes that our kids seek in the world. And that our
Wow.
kids look at us and they go, that's my mom. They look
Mhm.
and they go, and that they're not looking for other heroes out there. And you definitely are that for your son. I mean, I see it as
Yeah.
I Facebook stalk you.
I do post a lot of things.
I love it.
Yes, but coming back to what he said, my mom, right? Because she always does what she says she's going to do. And that is you completely. When I met you and we had a relationship outside of Fiji and I started to get to know you, you connected with me with so many people, not just with you, but so many people that were going to help me grow. And that is exactly what has happened over these past 2 years because of you and the TLC girls that I love so much. And even through them, now they connect me with other people. And I know
Yep.
Tracy connected me with so many amazing women, and they are actually helping me now. So it's just this beautiful thing that you've created,
Authentic.
and you did it for connection, for growth, for talk to me about it.
Well, I remember when I was a little girl
Mhm.
and this lady worked for my dad. My dad was an optometrist for 52 years. And the lady, she worked in the lab where they actually cut the lenses in my dad's office. She was
Oh,
this
wow.
tall, beautiful, dark-haired woman. And she looked at my dad and she goes, Doc, she goes, I just have to say, you're the most Christ-like person I've ever met. And no matter what your belief is, what your
Mhm.
religious beliefs are, I believe our job is just to do the right thing. I have a sign. I was just saying, I have this mirror right before I go into my garage, and it's by a company called Sticks. And it's this hand painted little mirror, and it says like eat right, exercise, all these little squares. And at the
Mhm.
top is a triangle. And I've had it for 30 years. I thought it's always
Mhm.
said, do the right thing every doggone day of your life. Like, and that's what I look at it and it says, do the right thing every doggone day of your life. And somebody came to my house and they go, no, it doesn't say do the right thing every doggone day of your life. I go, yes, it does. I freaking read it every day.
Yeah.
And it actually says, do the right thing almost every doggone day of your life. I have never seen the word almost ever.
Wow.
And I think for me, I go, well, why wouldn't I connect you? I want to see you win. Like your
Yeah.
win is my win. When I see you on the news, I'm celebrating you. When I see you in a magazine, I'm celebrating you. And I think that if we can understand, like, look, a tree, as our dear friend Tamberly, right? Like the trees talk to each other. We learned from Tamberly, right?
Yeah.
But a tree doesn't go, I'm not going to grow because this tree over here says I'm not worthy of growing, right? So much abundance out there.
Much.
And that I think that if we could just focus on that abundance part of things versus the scarcity,
Mm.
there's enough. There is enough. When I went to Greece with Asher, I took her to,
Mhm.
for her graduation present to Greece. And we're like, we are such a tiny, 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 tiny little pebble.
Yeah.
And that if you can make a little difference, what is it? Remember the one about the little girl standing on the beach with the
Mm.
starfish, and there was like a ton of starfish. It's an old story. It's like one of the OG personal development stories. And she's standing on the beach, like throwing these starfish back in the ocean. And this man comes up to her and he goes, Oh my God. He goes, What are you doing? It's going to take you forever. You're not really going to be able to make a difference. In the world, there's thousands of starfish here. You can't like give them all. You can't make a difference. She picked up a starfish. She threw it back in the ocean. She goes, made a difference to that one. Right.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it's like if I could just make a difference for one person, I don't know. I don't know the processional effect that it's going to have or who it's going to help. I shared another story, about my friend Linda. Another story. I mean, I could tell you stories after story after story.
You are the story queen.
That's what moves me, right?
Yeah.
That's what fires me up. Yesterday we did our own in the wild call, event. And then my husband had set up a meeting with some people that had come in town and I didn't know he had set up the meeting. So we went to this restaurant and we met these people. And then I saw this man sitting there with like a, like a wheelchair, and he was sitting there by himself, and he ordered like, I don't know, he had a nice glass of wine. He had, a nice dinner. And then he ordered like the coolest dessert thing. I'll have to take you there. This chocolate skull. And then they pour the alcohol on top of it and it melts the skull. And it's this really cool thing. Anyway, it's normally for like 4 people, right? But he ordered, I'm like, cool. Like, that's
For
cool.
himself.
He looked
Yeah.
for himself, right? Like he was like going for it, but he also looked like I don't know. I just felt something when I was at the table. So I
Mhm.
said to the girl, I go, could you please pay for this man's dinner? And I
Mhm.
didn't want them to I didn't want him to know it was from me, but
Yeah.
I was kind of like rushing around, and I think my husband thought he was paying for it because I do it all the time, right? So I like gave them my card, but I didn't tell the girl not to tell him. And because I gave her the card and then not the waitress the card, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And then she goes up to him and tells him it was me. So
Oh.
he kind of like takes his, wheelchair, not the wheelchair. I don't know what you would call it, like
A walker.
a walker. Yeah.
Yeah.
He takes the walker and he goes, Hey, thank you so much for the dinner. Little did I
Mhm.
know it was $100 like for the dinner, but it's okay. But he comes up, he goes, I just one thing, I've never had a pretty woman, buy me dinner. And so I said, no, 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 it's no big deal. It's fine. And I go, what's your name? And he goes, my name's Larry. And he goes, I just moved here days ago
Oh
to
my
Las Vegas
gosh.
from Arizona.
You made
And I
his
go,
day.
welcome to Las Vegas. He goes, I didn't expect this to be my welcome gift here to Las Vegas. He goes, I just can't tell you how much it means. He goes, you just have no idea like what I've been through. And I think that for me, it's like we don't know what people have been through. And
Mhm.
so it really is, I don't know, our job is to live a Christ-like life, no matter what your belief are. It's just to do the right thing every doggone day of your life, right?
Yeah.
That's why wouldn't I introduce you to people that could help you? Why wouldn't I do that? That's the right thing to do. Why do we
And
do
I
what we do?
love
Why
it.
do we network? Why do we do that?
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, and I love that about you because for some reason too, like this group that we have is so magical because every single woman in this group thinks that same way.
Yes.
We want to live that life. We want to bless other people. We want them to grow just as much as you just said right there. And I think to have how many of us are there? 36?
36. This year though, I don't know about you. It's like, wow, like such abundance. Like it's unbelievable.
Mhm. Yeah, there's a lot of manifestation. I wanted to be on the news. I said it at the beginning of the year. It happened today
Yep.
or this week.
Well, in Chai, you might know this
Mhm.
in Judaism, Chai,
Mhm.
18, the number 18 is very important. Chai
Mhm.
means life. So you might have heard something before saying l'chaim.
Mhm.
L'chaim means to life, right?
Yeah.
So just every day, like, can you imagine just waking up and just being like, no matter what, and once again, there's so many beautiful things from so many, like I learned so much about the Greek word. Remember when we were in Crete,
Yeah.
right? And we were on the call on
In
your
our pod
pod,
call.
and I had gone to the monastery that day with Ashley because I
Mhm.
wanted to learn about when, just the history of it, like when the Persians, came in and they, and then the Persians and then the Turks and then when they went up to this monastery and there were like 1,400 people in there and this dynamite went off and all these people, like I learned, like, love learning history.
Yeah.
But I was like, when I was at the Orthodox Greek church, I was like, what's that? Like, to the guide. And there are these little, like it might show like a baby or a heart. And I bought randomly these
Yeah.
things at the monastery, like,
You
oh, a
didn't
baby,
know we were
I'll
gonna
buy
need
that one. I'll buy a love one. I'll buy, these. I don't know who I'll give it to, but I'll do it. And then on the call, one of our girls said that she wanted to have a baby. And I'm like, oh my God, like I got that for her.
you
But
did.
the reason I bring that up is it's by design,
Mhm.
that it's 36 people because 18 means life
Mm.
and 18 times 2 is double life. So that, to me, like I really see that happening now. There's so much life, there's so much abundance, there's so much, like, people just sharing. I mean, me. I mean, look at me. I've got, all, I think both of us, right? Like we're
Uh-huh.
all into the numerology. Like I got 999 over here, new beginnings, right?
Yes.
999. I
You
got
have 1 1 or 11 11 everywhere.
11s everywhere, right? So those are beautiful. And I think that when you give meaning to something, it's amazing what really, really shows up.
Exactly.
So anyway,
Yeah, I always say if we actually walked around with our eyes open and looking straight ahead, there's so many things and so many paths and so many clues out there. We
yep.
just got to pay attention. Like I was leaving my office yesterday after like I was there till like 7 o'clock at night and I was leaving and all of a sudden a downpour just out of nowhere. Like the sun was out. There was just a downpour. The sun was out and I turned to go to Bandera because we were staying with my kiddo in Bandera and my parents. And so I turn and look, and there's a double rainbow.
Oh,
And it's just the meaning behind it. Like you can put whatever meaning behind it that
yep.
you want. You're leaving something behind, something new is coming, you're in the right path, you're going the right direction. But that was just what I needed.
Yep. And in Fiji, you know what rain means?
What
It's
does it
God
mean?
blessing you. So
Mm.
I love that. What did you say? What did you say about leaving it behind? I love that. That is so
You're
cool.
leaving behind something and something else is coming.
I love that. That's so cool. Love
Well,
it.
thank you so much, Loren. Like you, this is so, I can't even, it's a blessing to have you in my life. It's a blessing to have you part of the podcast. What is something, you gave so many amazing little nuggets of information, but what's one thing, if there is a woman or a man out there that feels like they've hit the wall and they're trying to figure out life, what would you tell them?
When I was a little girl, I was 10 years old. My grandmother
Mhm.
was from Hungary. So she was an immigrant that came over. She was like an OG, like she was like a real deal gypsy,
Yeah.
like walked the gutters in Hungary. Came over,
Mhm.
through Ellis Island, and I framed that for a couple reasons. So when I was 10 years old, I wanted to do the walkathon.
Mm.
And she goes in her little Hungarian accent. She goes, how is a little girl like you going to do the walkathon? You know? And I remember just looking up at her and I said, one step at a time. So someone who's going through just one step at a time, you got this. So many things, so many situations are temporary. You and I shared about, I mean, like I had
Mhm.
so many times I was like, oh my God, like, how am I going to get, like, what am I going to, like, this sucks. I've had many this sucks moments. I mean, I'm sure you've had this sucks moments. I
Yes.
remember going, it's temporary and it's going to make me stronger. It's going to make me better. It's going to be a
Mhm.
great story. It's going to be able to help someone, be able to, so I'm going to become more empathetic
Yeah.
because of this. I'm going to become more whatever. So I would say one step at a time and plug into a great community.
Yes.
I think that that's people are lonely.
Mm-hmm.
People are hungry
Yeah.
for community, right? And so find a great group of people that are really there that are going to support you. Like we have ours, I would
Mm-hmm.
love to gift anybody, Jeanette, that you want to, that, if whether maybe you do a contest or something, anybody to be able to come to own it,
Oh yeah.
instead of paying the $97, you can gift them a free ticket on behalf of me.
That'd
But
be
you got to
amazing.
do the work. It's not just about giving. It's like, what are you willing to do? Send Jeanette, like, here's what I'm willing to do, or share her podcast or do something. But I'd say one step at a time, understand that this is only, temporary, and stay true to yourself. Ask yourself, for me, I'm always asking, my question has been for the past 30 years, if
Mm-hmm.
I say yes to this, am I staying true to myself?
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, I finally got my big girl pants on and I'm saying no.
Yeah.
So find a question that works for you. That's my question. I don't know what your question is, but
Mm-hmm.
I adore you. I'm so proud of you. I just want to cry because I'm just so honestly, I'm so proud of you. I look at you, I see so much of my hunger when I was your age, like for my kids. And
Yeah.
I just really, really, you're an amazing leader. You're an amazing woman. You make me very, very proud. I know you got your own mama, but I can be your fairy godmother if that's okay.
I would
And
love for you to be my fairy godmother.
thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. This is Untamed and Unapologetic. We'll catch you next week.
Bye.